Hello and welcome to this new episode, Devang. It is
Hello, thank
it is
you.
good to
Thank you
have
for
you.
having me on the show.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Devang Vyas. I am a professional photographer based in Bombay until 3 months ago, and I've recently moved to Bangalore. And I am teaching photography here at JD Institute of Fashion Technology.
Okay. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for this short and brief introduction. One of the things that I want to ask you is, uh, as a creative person, most times when I meet someone, there is a sense of restlessness. Whenever
Mhm.
I met you, we've hardly met actually 2 or 3 times in our lives, and we
Right.
spoken a couple of times. I do not sense that restlessness in you. What is it that
Okay.
makes you so calm about the creative process?
Maybe because whenever we have met, it's never who I like. As in, I was not the one shooting there, or neither was I wasn't responsible for anything as big over there. So
Okay.
for in that case, maybe I had that peace of mind over that I don't have to deliver anything, so there's no need for me to panic or something. But maybe on the set, if you see me, then it would be a little bit like that. When I am responsible for something, that is when I guess.
Okay. So, one question I have about this restlessness. Why are we restless when we are creative? Is there a sense of fear and doubt? What is the problem actually, according to you?
Uh, okay, I think you can categorize it as fear, but it's not exactly 100% fear. It's I would use the word thrill for it, not fear. Like
Okay.
to have the that kind of sync in your head with creativity and with professionalism and all those factors coming in, and you have to bring it all together, and you are the one responsible for that one whole series, and somebody spending like 6 lakhs 7 lakhs on you, and that's sort of something to be proud of. At the same time, you are also responsible for so many things. So like the dialogue from the movie Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. It's that thing.
Yeah. Um, why can we not take it for granted after many years of work?
Take it for granted because I think you can if you are confident enough. Like earlier, let's say 2 years ago, when I was going on the set, till an hour before I leave for the studio, I was still doing referencing. Ki aaj kya karenge, lighting, how's the lighting gonna be, how's our posing gonna be, how will I guide the models and all those things. But now if I go on the set, I'm sort of more watching Instagram videos and all that, trying to divert my mind from that whole thing, because hammering over and over, when that same topic hammers your head, you sort of start getting confused in your own mind. So I have reached a point where I take not completely but partially take something for granted, as in jo hoga dekha jayega on the set. So right now, I tried whatever was best possible from my end, as in I've done enough shoots and enough referencing for lighting and for posing and all those things. So those things I'm not worried about. Those are like superficial things for me. It sort of comes subconsciously to me now because I've had enough practice. But I try to focus more on the creative part. Like if, let's say, uh, as in how am I going to use lighting as a tool to bring out so and so photo out of it. So I'm not seeing lighting as the ultimate result. I'm seeing lighting as the tool to bring out a result.
Okay. Was there a certain point where you were hindered by this overthinking for you to arrive at this wisdom?
Yes, actually. So I have had clients who are like themselves very creative and all. And I, as a photographer, I'm sort of overlaying my creativity on top of theirs. So we both have to be in sync very well. But here, the dominant person would be the client, because he or she is paying me and also is the one who has come up with the whole concept. So when I give in some of my inputs from my end, it either if it appeals to the client, it gets accepted, otherwise it gets rejected, right? So a lot of things I propose ki ye karte wo karte hai, which I feel are very creative and very good things to do, but then client is like nahi, ye acha nahi hai. So till the day of the shoot, we are on in that argument to and fro ki, I'm trying to propose something and they are saying ki ye nahi chalega, wo nahi chalega. And on the day of the shoot, we are still not completely in sync ki what we need to do. So when that happens, it sort of creates confusion on the set. As in, when I click a picture and I show them, they're like, this is nothing like what we had discussed, and then it's all sort of a mountain cracks down upon me. Oh shit, ab kya karenge? Because I never prepared for anything else, you know. So then I faced situations like that, and then I learned that it's better to just improvise on the day of the shoot instead of pre-planning so much. Just take a mood board from the client and send one mood board from your end, which is spot on to what they also expect. And if it clicks very well, so we are sorted. If not, then there will be that confusion on the day of the shoot, and then I'm prepared for it. That okay, I'll be prepared for whatever comes.
Okay, there are two questions I want to ask you on this. One is, how humble or how humiliating is it as a creative person to accept a point of view is sometimes better also, but is to be accepted because they are paying for it. First question is that.
Okay. I think it's fair enough, I can say, because they are the one who's paying for it, and they are the one who's also come up with an idea for the same thing. Like if I was the one who came up with either of those things, either the money or the idea, then it would be a little, I would be expecting something out of it. At least something goes my way here. But they are doing both the things here. Like they are coming up with the creative, they are also coming up with the money and everything. All I have to do is just use my skills and uh, uh, give them what they need. That's it. So then I am not looking at them as another artist. I am looking at them as another client. When I'm looking at somebody as another artist, it would be more of a collaborative thing where you can say where money is either not involved or very less amount. I see. So I think in that case, it's fine for me to accept that something doesn't go my way.
Okay. The second question that I had was, you said that sometimes the client still is holding on to his version, her version. You are holding on to your version. And on the day of the shoot, you just leave it and you say, okay, let's see what happens. Now, this is
As
more.
in, because that happens because when you haven't, like you in your head, because I am a photographer, I know what it will look like. In my head, I know it, right? But the client is not a photographer. They need a visual, proof that it looks good. So on the day of the shoot, I do what I want to do first. And if that doesn't work, then I go for what they want.
So my question was more from what falls in place. So I guess you answered it before the question ended.
Yeah, so it's like that.
Okay. Now another question, a little related to your profession, but not fully so. As a creative person, when I was far more younger, I was quite cocky about my prowess and also very lonely because visualization and creation is a solo process very often also. Sometimes you do get collaborative, but sometimes it's a very alien to our immediate atmosphere kind of process. Yeah, like you may be with friends and family, there must be something happening at home, but you got to deliver on an idea or a concept, and your mind is fully occupied because it's a challenging kind of project or whatever.
Hmm.
I found myself either being a little rude or else uh, not paying enough attention to my immediate circumstances when I was younger, uh,
Hmm.
often alienating my immediate people. Did anything
Hmm.
ever happen to you like that? If yes, how did you sort it out?
Yes, yes, it did. So after I think 1 or 2 years into the profession, I started getting good enough projects where I had to give in a lot of my time. And initially, when you are still starting up, there's not much you could offer to the client, because in the portfolio you don't have that much to show. Neither are you like you are yourself not that confident that you can ask for such a big amount of money or whatever. So you are, the best you can do is give your 100% in terms of efforts
Yeah,
and in terms of time also. So even if the client tells you कि कल तक में कुछ करके देना है, you sit the whole night and you give them the mood board and so on. Even you do things that are not a part of your job. Let's say the client has agreed to get the pictures edited by themselves only, and they still, after the shoot, they still come to you and tell you to give inputs to the editor and convert karke do images and all those things. So you still do that even though you never agreed to all those things.
yeah,
So that is where I was giving in a lot of my time, a lot of my efforts to just one client only. So it happens where कि to मेरे family में people are not getting to see me that often, and I don't call them that often. So after a while I started noticing these things, and I thought it's better to just carry on like this till I reach a level where I can tell the clients ki no, now I am closing my laptop, I'll be doing this tomorrow. So I carried on like this till, like, try to balance the work life and home family life at the same time, till I reach the level where I can say to the client ki ab nahi hoga, I'll send it to you tomorrow. That's it.
okay. Um, Now
As
let's
in,
talk.
I identified the problem earlier, so I was able to maybe tackle it better. So that's why it didn't go that bad for me. It was fine, manageable.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about your failures. Um, there, I found as a creative person. Uh,
Hmm.
okay, now because I'm a writer, my experiences were more about writing. Sometimes I did
Hmm.
not understand the subject well enough. Sometimes I did not have the talent to put it across well or
Hmm.
in a manner that my client wanted.
Hmm.
Sometimes um, you want to do something, but you're unable to crack it in a manner within the given deadline to your satisfaction or to the client's satisfaction.
Hmm.
Uh, those days were quite tough for me, particularly. I found. Have, how
Hmm.
have you handled failure? Because creative process is not a photocopying machine that you just पहले किया है तो आज भी हो जाएगा ऐसा तो नहीं होता.
Yes, 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 yes. So I actually wouldn't say failure. I would call it evolution, because I learned something out of it. So it's how it started was, I think a big problem with me was that I wasn't, how when you first come out of the photography school and you are looking for creative everything, so you're just trying to come up with stories, like we were told that your picture should tell a story. So I didn't really understand this whole sentence very well. When they say story, it doesn't have to be a start and an end. Like let's say a story of a dog कि कुत्ता उठा यहाँ पे बैठा उसके साथ ये हुआ वो हुआ. Those are the very first thoughts that come to your mind and you execute those. So that's what my problem was. The first thing that comes to my mind, I executed very quickly. I don't think deeper into it. I don't think go into the metaphorical sense of it, or I don't think deep basically. So I didn't realize it till I saw other photographers ke works are almost my age, a little bit further than me, but almost my age. And I saw their work, and their work sort of felt very appealing. You know, it felt like there was some thought process put behind it. There was aesthetics development done for this and all. And मेरे photos में देखे तो it was still about stories of an orange and an apple and those very stupid things, which feel stupid now, but of course that I learned through that. So yeah, eventually I developed my aesthetics more than my visual sense, and developed my thought process more than developing the technical skills.
True.
So that's where I am today.
I want to narrate a story which is similar to this. I was a very journalist kind of writer. You stick to the facts. Don't dramatize. Don't over dramatize. I kept doing that. A lot of times people weren't happy with the copy, but I refused to change it, stuff like that. Till one day, out of frustration, I wrote a dramatic version of something, and the client loved it. I hated it. He says, but this is exactly what I want. I said, but this is not what you are. He says, what's your problem? I love it. And paid me well. And I went back and I started thinking, oh, so this is the problem people have been facing with me. I've been thinking that it's a personality clash. It's not a personality clash, it's a viewpoint. Uh, it's a difference of how you look at the entire job.
Right.
And maybe, even though it's not my personal liking, it may be something that is good for them according to them. And of course, like you said, they are paying for it. They have every right to decide what aspect of my writing they want to subscribe to. And then initial few times, I used to have this private joke with myself that I'm laughing at them and I'm giving them trash. But over a period, I learned to respect it because in the market, there is some other chemistry happening. So you are working with your client, the client is working with his clients or some art
Right.
person, and suddenly the whole atmosphere is far more creative than what you had decided. And while it is humbling, it is also very enriching because suddenly you're seeing new things. I want to actually add a postscript to that because I had never realized this part. That gave me a lot of like a complete 180-degree shift in thinking. Because now, if you decide, like, listen, I have an idea, work with me, I no longer fear you. I no longer think, Arey yaar, ye to kabhi kiya nahi. Now, everything is a
Exactly.
potential, everything is a possibility. So, suddenly, the whole world is my oyster kind of thing. I can do anything with it and try new things, which wasn't the case earlier when I was tied down by my own thoughts. You want to share anything like that?
I don't really have anything on it.
Yeah. So this happened to me quite often. Um, one difference I want to know from you as a creative person, uh, how do you tackle your doubt and fear? Even now, today you're teaching, you said, I'm sure when you stand up and you suddenly realize, oh, I don't know anything, what am I going to teach? The first few times or in a particular slant of the subject. How do you deal with the doubt and fear that you have?
Yeah, I think the best way to tackle these things so far that I have learned is to just do it and see what happens. It's just like something when you're trying something new for the first time, you know that you are going to fail now or later on in life. So sometime you are going to fail either now or later. So it's just better to fail faster so that you can try new things faster. So so just whenever there is something, I have a doubt about something, I just execute it and we'll see what happens,
Any interesting example where something turned out better than you thought because of this attitude of yours?
Yes, I think the decision of moving out of Bombay, taking up a job, like moving out of the freelancing and getting into a daily, day-to-day job thing. Earlier, I was in that dilemma what to do. But then I thought it's just execute karte hai, kya hi hoga isme? What's the worst thing that could happen? And so far, it feels quite good.
Hmm. This is interesting because
Mm.
we also, the initiative is called the Values Workshop. One of
Mm.
the things that I often see that most of my guests talk about are things that they are not very confident about.
Mm.
Uh, but it doesn't seem to matter to them. It's the living experience of it that kind of gives them the
Yeah.
thrill, the adrenaline
Yeah.
rush. Okay, let's see क्या होता है.
हाँ,
So,
मतलब I think the I have taken this approach earlier. It was subconsciously that even I had gotten responses from big clients also who wanted to, ki we will only shoot with you for credits and all. We won't pay you and all those things. And at that time, whoever people I knew, I consulted them what to do about this. They all said that if you don't get money, you shouldn't do this. But somewhere within it felt like मेरा क्या जा रहा है इसमें? What's the loss? Try करने में क्या जाता है? So I did the math and I just thought ki there is at max I'll be just wasting my time, which I had plenty of back then. So I was like, ki, chalo try kar lete hai. And that is exactly how I found one of the very good clients. And also that is how I have built a lot of part of my portfolio also. Like majority things that I upload on my website is not something too commercial. I try to stay away from putting up commercial things on my website because I don't want people to look at me as a businessman. I want them to look at me as an artist. So I try to keep those things like that. And using this approach in life helped me quite. It did me quite well.
yeah, I think people do sense these things that who's working for passion and the love of creation
Hmm.
vis-a-vis the monetary part. Of course, we all need to live in the world. Certain bills have to be paid, and it's always a bit of a clash. But there are middle grounds many times.
Yeah.
Um I want to ask you another question.
Hmm.
You've been married. Obviously, you've had friends of different kinds, close family unit or whatever. As a creative person, um, is there any particular point of view you have about relating to people? Uh, is it necessary that they be creative, or is there any value-based system that you look at? Um, how do you
Okay.
perceive relationships?
I to answer the question, I think I don't really look for value sort of thing. It's just that if they are good to me, I'll be good to them, and we'll see where it goes. Again, like I think with now that I'm talking to you, I realize that that is my approach to a lot of things. Let's see what happens. So I just say yes to a lot of things, I guess maybe. So whoever comes into my life, whoever meets me, I am nice to them. They are nice to me. Sometimes I feel if somebody is not nice to me, but they have something that can add value to my life, I still stick to them. So those things like that, and maybe if you in some time they start liking me also. So I am not really very choosy about friends and relationships and all. I am just nice to everyone, but um, I don't really. I draw boundaries very quickly. So I am good to everyone, but I know how close to get to somebody, and how until when should I keep that on.
Okay.
So yes, I
Uh,
don't think it's value driven. It's just sort of experiment driven thing.
I have a bit of a disagreement on your reading of that, perhaps, because you did mention that. Let's see is more your point of view. And
Hmm.
I personally think that it requires a certain sense of innocence to approach life with that, uh, or maybe naive, if you want to call it that, where you are
Hmm.
ready to approach life with open arms, saying, "Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens." Um,
Hmm.
a lot of us get very intimidated by our past experiences, um,
Hmm.
and close up, and become very close to a very small circle, a small kind of idea, or a
Hmm.
very miserly approach to the whole thing. Like,
Right.
let me hold on to what I have because the
Hmm.
world is not a very safe place or whatever.
Hmm.
Whereas it takes guts and honesty and innocence and naivete to go out in the way you're saying, because you are not really uh, 6 or 7 years old kind of
Yeah,
child.
as in I'm not bound by fears or bound by any boundaries that कि ये नहीं कर सकते वो नहीं कर सकते या तो फिर अब क्या होगा if I do this and all. So yeah, I guess I don't think about things like that as much. And also most of the people that I meet are I think because of my friend circle and whatever, the people who I meet are also similar people only. So mostly that never turns out to be a problem for me. I'm fine. Like the people I meet, I'm fine with that. And in my experience, I have learned that who you are as a person, it's also driven by the kind of people that are around you. So this would be a good example of saying ki, I meet good people because the first people through whom that I'm meeting them are also nice people.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, paid forward kind of thought. And be nice because you're actually creating a beautiful world. Very often, I find that the world is right now being very strongly opinionated about almost everything,
Hmm.
about fashion, about cinema, about creativity, about politics, about countries, about how to tackle COVID or not
Hmm.
tackle it, or vaccination, or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
But this approach is um, such a seemingly, uh, I think, harmless approach, that it is an antidote to all the thinking of this boundary or that boundary, or we can be
Hmm.
chilled about having different
But we
opinions.
both we both are talking that it's a good approach because we both have met good people, right? If you have somebody in your circle who has doesn't have a good friend circle or always has a negative approach to his friends or his circle around them, so maybe if you ask the same question to them, they might have a different answer to this.
Yeah, uh, I have that thought. But again, I realize that most of our experiences are experienced in our own minds. And in the
Okay.
end, that is the only thing that can be controlled. Like if I
Hmm.
meet you and you don't turn out to be not the kind of person that I like, I
Hmm.
can minimize my interaction. If I'm forced to have interaction with you, I can minimize the judgment in my head.
Hmm.
Let it be. Let us give him less space in my mind. Let's finish it off as soon as possible.
Correct.
Somewhere there is always a solution if we are looking at the solution. If we keep
Hmm.
looking at the problem that is being created, I think it makes us also negative. So while I
Yes,
appreciate
probably.
what you're saying, that good people have made you good and then led to better connections, but the
Hmm.
reverse is also true. If you weren't good yourself, or at least you weren't eased out yourself,
Hmm.
you wouldn't be able to carry that energy forward, because somewhere or the other
Correct.
there are challenges, there are tussles, there are points of view. Uh, we both have a common friend, Vineet. Very often
Hmm.
we have these like deep political discussions with both of us disagreeing, but we're both laughing at the end of it because we are like, okay, there's a point of view, there's a point of view. So
Yeah.
it's only possible because both of us are trying to understand the issue is our
Hmm.
approach. Otherwise, it cannot be, because we may have our opinion very strong, But when we listen to the other person, I respect his
Hmm.
point of view. He respects my point of view. And both of
Hmm.
us realize that he's such a lovely person. He thinks about me also, ki, "Yaar, what a wonderful approach you have." Although you are exactly
Hmm.
opposite in terms of reading of the situation. I think
Hmm.
somewhere that kind of
But
basic
that
human.
actually works because you both have the same ultimate goal. Like you and Vineet, if even if you're about talking about politics in completely different sides, both of you all are ultimately talking about achieving a good quality of life, having basic
True.
food, shelter, and all those things for everyone.
Yeah,
So ultimate goal is the same for both of you, just different routes that you are taking.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is why you can agree to it. But if you talk to somebody from a political background or something, so
Hmm.
their goal is not to bring, at least the most of the people, their goal is not to bring these basic necessities to everyone or something. They are just there for money, or they are there to for fame, which
True.
indirectly gets them money only. So if you argue with them, even though no matter how good a person he or she is, the argument will get bitter. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
which is what the point I was making. That unless you
Hmm.
have a bigger perspective, not limited to your own greed or uh,
Yeah.
fear or doubt, you will never come out
Hmm.
of it. So it's better
Agreed.
that one is at least talking to people or trying to be with people who have a more giving perspective, perhaps.
Hmm.
So it's been wonderful talking to you. I think
Same here.
uh, it's almost as if we are meeting for the first time.
So it was nice meeting you then.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Deva, for your time.
You're welcome.
I will connect soon.
Sure.
I'll see you.
Sure, no problem.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.